Good morning, Southeast Missouri, and wherever you may be listening or watching. This is the Retirement Playbook brought to you by Alspaugh Wealth Management. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Tony Shore. Tony, I got to tell you, man, it's still different for me. I'm getting used to it, and I love it. Alspaugh Wealth Management versus the old Innovative Financial Solutions.
I like the new name. I like the new logo. I like the new look. If our listeners are watching, if they're viewers today on the YouTube channel, on the Alspaugh Wealth Management YouTube channel, they can see the new logo, the new template we have for the videos, your background. I love the new logo and the new name, Alspaugh Wealth Management. It really describes what you do a lot better, who you are. It incorporates all of that. So
It's
that's
funny.
good.
I
Yeah.
was in a meeting this week, and they saw it, in the email, and he had mentioned something. I said, "Do you like it?" He's like, "Yeah." You know what I love about it? I love the word wealth. Like it puts me in a good mood. Like it just makes me happy. And I'm like, you know
Sure.
what? Then it was worth it. It was worth it
Yes.
just for one client to make them feel good.
There you go. Well, yeah, I like it too. It's great, and it's what you do. You help people make sure they have the wealth they're going to need to last them throughout their lives, and get a plan in place to do that. And so it just all fits together. It works perfectly, Brock.
Well,
How
yeah.
have you been though? How have you been doing?
I tell you,
You've been busy.
pretty crazy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And crazy and busy and all that. It's a good thing, right? It's just a matter
Right.
of it's just getting through the times, buddy. Getting through the times. It's almost year end. It's almost the holidays. We're almost to snow season. I'm ready for it. Let's go.
All right. Yeah, it's been a mild winter so far.
Yeah, it has.
Really.
In fact, I had some buddies text me about playing golf this weekend. I'm like, what? Golf? And I looked down. I'm like, oh, okay. It's supposed to be like 55 degrees or something like that. So,
Yeah.
55, Tony, is I can play golf in 55. Now, if the wind's blowing 20 miles an hour, I'm out. I can't do it
Yeah.
at 50
No.
degrees and 20 mile
That
wind.
wind gets cold, boy. I tell you,
Yes.
you get below 65 in a wind, and it can this time of year, it can really cool you down fast, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 100%. So,
Yeah.
okay. All right. I am excited about today's show, Tony. I think this is a great
Excellent.
topic. It's very timely. But before we get into the material in the show today, I'd like for people to visit our new website. That's right. It's alspaughwealthmanagement.com. alspaughwealthmanagement.com. You can check out past shows. Actually, our brand new website isn't quite live yet. But there's one thing you can do, folks, on the new website, and that is request an appointment with me. That's one of the services that we are providing on our new website. So we're not fully functioning with the new website, but you can get on there. You can request an appointment with me. Now, why would you want to do that? Well, obviously, for reasons that, hey, we need a plan. We need help with our retirement planning. Okay. Um, if the information that you hear on the radio show that you see and that we put out is applicable to you and you're close to retirement and you need help, give us a call at Alspaugh Wealth Management, 573-332-7855. The number has not changed, Tony. The website has. It's alspaughwealthmanagement.com, all spelled out. Okay? Spelt. Sound like I had a T in there, Tony.
Smelt.
Oh, shoot. Okay. You ready to get started?
I am. What are we talking about today?
Yeah. So we're going to talk about the 2024 retirement picture, Tony. It's going to have a lot of great information in it today. And again, if you feel like that you would like to discuss what we're talking about today in a more personalized manner, more customized to you, feel free. Go to our website. Again, it's Alspaugh Wealth Management, and you can request an appointment with me. We'll give you a call, schedule that today. But I'm really excited because we're going to talk about 2024 and kind of what we feel like is going on and that will cause to happen next year, and some things that you could look out for as well in your own picture. So I'm excited about this one, Tony. You ready to get started, buddy?
I am so ready. I can't wait. I mean, obviously, the 2024 landscape is going to have things that we're going to be excited about and things we probably need to be concerned about. So, where do you want to start?
Yeah, so let's start with the article that appeared in U.S. News and World Report. It's titled, "What's the Outlook for 2024 and for the Retirement?" The article first lists several things that some financial experts, we can use the quote, Tony,
Yep.
experts. Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong.
Sure.
But the first factor is contemplating is what filing for Social Security in 2024 will mean for your permanent monthly payment. For example, Tony, if you retire this year at age 62 with $700,000 in the bank or in your investment accounts, but wait until you turn 70 to file for your Social Security benefits, you'll likely spend down the portfolio faster in the first few years of your retirement, but you will likely have enough money to last until around age 90. Okay. So I think basically what they're saying here is that with retirees living longer, that if you the longer you defer, obviously you're giving up those paychecks, Tony, the amount of paychecks,
Sure.
but those paychecks will continue to get larger and larger and larger. And in fact, those paychecks will grow by 8% from your full retirement age. So 67 for most of us. Right now, if you're retiring, 66 and I think 7 or 8 months
Right.
is your full retirement age. And so those benefits continue to go up with cost of living adjustments, Tony, and then also with these delayed retirement credits. So you can see some major increases here from age 67 to 70. So huge benefit of doing that. Now again, as this little section and article notes, is that if you do that, okay, how do you replace those paychecks? How do you maintain your lifestyle and continue to receive income? When you're not taking Social Security. And so typically that's done through your IRA withdrawals or withdrawals that you have in your non-qualified accounts. And by the way, Tony, this isn't just something we're talking about here on the radio show. This is something what I call we put into practice. So again, everybody's situation is different, but what I would say is that it's something that I don't know what the percentages are, but quite a few times. I just had a couple meetings this week, and we're waiting until 70. And part of it is because you have enough other assets to fill in the gap until you take your
Right.
Social Security. So you got to have that. That's kind of the building block, Tony. That's the foundation of the house, if you will. And so you've got to make sure that this works for you. Everything's customized at what we do. So anyway, the point is it making sure you have the foundation to have other assets that if you can wait until 70, it might be the best idea. Now, there's other things that go into that. It's not just, hey, do I have money? It's what's your health like? You
Yeah.
know, if you've got
What's your family longevity history like, right?
that comes into play too. Now, I don't like to rely on that one as much, Tony, because you just don't know. Just because someone, lived till 95 doesn't mean your mom lived till 95 doesn't mean you're going to. But I do like to really consider your health. Like, are you healthy? Have you had cancer? Have you had other major problems? If you have, I'm not saying that you're automatically not going to live to your life expectancy, but it does reduce your life expectancy with some
Yeah.
illnesses. So you just take a look at it on a case by case basis. But the most important thing you can do is to get your own customized Social Security maximization report. It's going to show you exactly how and when to file, okay, for your benefits. And it's especially important for married couples, right? Because you have your own benefit, you've got spousal benefits to consider, and then you've got survivorship benefits. And quite frankly, Tony, that's the one that most people forget about is those survivorship benefits.
Yeah.
So if I've got a higher earning spouse that earned quite a bit more and maybe even maxed out with their benefits and as far as how much they contribute into the system because they were at the max income level every year for several years in a row, then you might want to consider that person delaying a little bit longer, and maybe all the way up until that age 70 if you can make it work, because that means that not only is your benefit going to be longer, but at death, your spouse gets the higher of the two benefits. So in a married couple situation where you have a big disparity in those Social Security benefits, a lot of times, again, if you can swing it, it's best to have that higher earning spouse and the higher benefit spouse defer all the way to 70, and so that's something to look at. But again, folks, everybody's situation is different. That's why
Yeah.
we always recommend get that Social Security maximization report, and we can do that for you. There's only a few bits of information that we need. We need to know what your primary insurance amount is. So that benefit at your full retirement age, that monthly benefit, that's called your primary insurance amount. And so if you give us that information, we can run these reports for you. And it's like anything. You don't want to make a lifetime decision just based on what you feel or what your friend or what your neighbor has told you, right? You
Right.
want you want to
Yeah.
get the best information possible before you make that big decision.
Based on your own personal situation.
Right.
And, as you've said many times, Brock, a stable and rewarding retirement often comes down to getting the timing right. And that's what you help your clients do and can help our listeners with. And they can get that Social Security maximization report run. So I encourage them to go to the new website. There's a contact form there. You can set up an appointment. That is great. What's next, Brock? What else do we
Yeah.
need to know about the retirement picture for 2024?
I would say the other thing is, and we talked about it a lot this week. Why? Because the Feds got together and decided not to change rates for December. Shocker. We all knew that was
Yeah.
going to happen. But they did kind of hint at possibly three interest rate decreases next year. Now, what that tells us, folks, is first of all, why did we start increasing rates? Why did the Fed take action? Now, some would say maybe a little too late because they remember that word transitory. They thought it was just a very temporary issue, and it turned out it was not. Uh, so
It kept going up and up. Inflation.
Right. And so, it is worked. It has
Yeah.
worked.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Increasing rates, interest rates has worked, cool things off a little bit, and inflation's coming down. It's still not at their target, but it's, the last report was a little over 3%.
It's
Heck of a
getting
lot better
closer.
heck of a lot better than 9% or where we were. Remember that,
Yeah.
Tony.
Yeah.
But my point is that if they're feeling that we're going to get to that target of closer to 2%, and they're going to end up decreasing rates, that could potentially, we don't know, cause inflation to maybe start going back up. And so we've all experienced, and by the way, how they measure inflation, I mean, is probably a little bit skewed. It's not probably, it is a little skewed when you're not considering things like food and energy cost. Sorry, but there's two things that we have to have, and that is food. So why aren't we considering this? I get it.
Right.
The reason they don't is because it's volatile. I get that, but it's a huge part of being a human.
It is.
So anyway, the point is that I don't know that anyone listening would go, well, yeah, I'm super happy with where inflation is, and so let's just do something to maybe make it go up a little bit higher. I don't think anybody's saying that,
I
because
hope not.
yeah, right. So anyway, the point is that let's get ready, folks, for this inflation that we're seeing and basically the cost of goods right now to not go down. We're going to be, where we're at, or maybe even a little bit higher. That's kind of my prediction as far as, what inflation's going to do next year. So my point is this: do you have your budget squared away? First of all, you need to have a budget if you don't have one. Second of all, we need to
Right.
look at it every year. And did you keep up with it this year? What a great time of year to do that, by the way. And then the third thing is okay, we were a little short. We didn't factor in this much for the cost of our groceries. So we need to up that a little bit in 2024. If you're on a fixed income, folks, I mean, that's a decrease in something. It's got to either you got to increase your withdrawals from your retirement accounts if you're in retirement. If you're still working, that's just less discretionary money you're going to have. So it's an impact, Tony. No matter what stage of life you're in, having things cost more than what you expected them to is obviously a part of adjusting and a part of getting a appropriate budget. And then the other thing I would say is taxes. You know,
Yeah.
um, when you're looking at taxes and how they affect your budget, obviously, the more you pay in taxes, the less money, discretionary money you have. Now, some would argue that tax rates right now, Tony, are well, let's just say they're at the all-time low. I mean, we were just doing some planning this year, Tony, for someone that's going to make 80. I think it was right at 85 or $90,000 in retirement for the next few years. Um, at 11.5 effective tax rate, federal, right? That's pretty darn cheap, right? To
Yeah.
say I'm going to
Yeah.
pay 10 and a half, 11 and a half, 12% on my income. Yeah, you are. I mean, that's like I say, that's really, really good. And certainly enjoy it. Do some planning, right? If we know that our tax rates are going to be 10 or 12%, why don't we start converting some of those IRA, fully taxable IRAs to Roth IRAs to maximize these rates? So
Yeah.
here's the
When the
point.
taxes are low, you want to take advantage of them. And right now we have historically low federal income tax rates. So now would be the time to convert those taxable accounts like your tax deferred 401k or tax deferred traditional IRA into what you're saying, a Roth, right? Is
That's
that what you're
exactly
saying?
right. Yeah. So okay. So here's the point. If your effective rate, which let's clarify what that is. So you have your
Okay.
marginal rates 10, 0, 10, 12, 22, and 24. Those are the tax, and then it goes up from there. But those are the tax rates or brackets. And
Brackets.
there's
Yep.
incomes associated with those brackets. And so what you do is get your effective rate is just to average what your income is. So again, if you're a little over 90,000, you might jump up into say 22. But your first 90,000 effective rate is a little bit in 10 and a little bit in 12, or the majority of it in 12.
So it's
And
not like the whole amount goes up to 22%, is taxed at
exactly. And I
22%.
think that's
Okay.
yeah, exactly. I think that's kind of a misconception. Somebody says, "Well, I made $300,000, so I was in the 35% tax." No, you weren't. No, you weren't. That's not your effective rate. So, anyway, learning and understanding your effective tax rate is very, very important, folks, because that is very helpful information in determining what your effective tax rate is and determining what level is acceptable to you. What I
Yeah.
mean by that is, okay, take that example for that client. They were in their effective rate at that in 90,000 is going to be somewhere around 11.5% for federal taxes. Got Missouri taxes on top of that. But for
Sure.
your federal taxes, that's the effective rate. So he says, okay, I'm willing to pay up to 20% effective rate or 17% effective rate. So how much of my Roth or my traditional IRA can I convert to a Roth IRA and stay within that 17 to 20% of federal tax rate? So we do the calculation. I mean, guys, I'm telling you, folks, at 12% tax rate compared to where we've been and compared to where we could potentially go, because we know at the end of 2025, this is over, right? The 2017
Right.
Jobs and Tax Code Act
Yeah.
automatically means that tax rates are going to go up. And they're not a whole lot. It's average of about 3% per. So the 12 becomes a 15, the 15 becomes 18, the
Well,
20.
unless they raise it more,
Correct, Tony. That's
which
correct.
eventually will happen.
I agree. I agree. I mean, when you look at the amount of national debt we have, and you're saying, "Oh
Ooh.
yeah, we're cool. We're gonna pay down debt at with the amount of tax revenue coming in." No, you're not. No, you're not, because you spend too much money. Now
Yeah,
that's
they're not
another
going to
argument.
cut spending. I mean,
Correct.
either that or they'd have to cut spending, which I can't even say with a straight face because
That's
I've
the
been
funniest thing you've said in 6 years, Tony.
I've been alive. I've been alive 57 years, Brock, and I've never
Yes.
seen the government cut spending. So
Me neither. I haven't been alive that long, but
I know you
but
haven't. You're a young pup yet, but
but my
yeah,
point is that be realistic about it. We're going to
yeah.
cut spending or we're going to increase taxes. We're going to probably increase taxes. Now, listen, I don't agree with that. I mean, we need to
Well,
look at
no.
this fiscal responsibility of the money that's coming in and going out.
Whew. Yeah.
That would be the best thing, right? But we're never going to get
Right.
to that point. I mean, they're never going to
Right.
agree enough to get there. We can't even get a whole year's worth of them saying, you know what? We're going to come to this debt ceiling negotiation and it's going to be solved for the next 5 years. We can't get 1 year of that.
No, we
Okay.
can't. We can't figure out they can't come to an agreement on a 1 year budget for our government, let
It's
alone.
literally insane to
Yeah.
say, you know what? We're going to raise how much we can borrow because we have a deficit, right? The amount of money coming in is not matching the amount of money going out. We're spending more than we take in.
And they
Does that
refuse to
sound like
balance the
something?
budget.
Does that sound like something like, oh, hey, perfect. You know what? Yeah. The most financial fundamental decision you can make for not only your life, but your retirement picture is what? Spend less than what you make. Live within your means. And they're
Yep.
not doing it,
Nope.
whatever. Anyway, again, this is not a political show, but it drives me kind of crazy, right? To
Sure.
say that why can't we
Well,
do
that's
this?
not even a partisan issue we're talking about. We're just talking about in
That's true.
general, our
Yeah.
government as a whole has a problem. And I think there's very few people who would disagree with that, Brock. But it does paint an important lesson for us not to make those same mistakes in our personal lives,
For sure.
because it's really going to hurt us. And I like how you put that. It makes us think you have to have a plan in place, and you
Yes.
have to have a budget, and you have to work with a professional and make sure that you have that plan in place. And I happen to know a guy. I'm not going to name names on the show, Brock Alspaugh, but I know a guy.
I mean, honestly, if we said, hey, we not only want you to not save for a rainy day, we don't want you to save for a rainy day. And then we want you to spend 1.25% or not percent, so basically 25% more than what you bring in. Doesn't that sound like good financial advice? No,
That's what
of
the
course, it's
government is.
insane.
That's what
Right.
the government's doing. Exactly that. Well, but again, 2024 has some positives, but you
Yes,
have to have a
yes.
plan going in. There
Yes.
are a lot of changes that are happening. And I mean, we've covered some of them on the show, but we're almost out of time. Brock,
Okay.
let our listeners know how they can get a hold of you. Give that new website address. Even though the whole website isn't live, there is a contact scheduling form on there.
Yes,
And
sir.
of course, the phone number, right?
Yep. So if you need help in your own life, not doing some of the things that we talked about and
Sure.
doing everything right,
Yep.
give us a call at Alspaugh Wealth Management. It's 573-332-7855. Our new web address is all spelled out. So it's alspaughwealthmanagement.com. alspaughwealthmanagement.com. Listen, it's Alspaugh, Tony. So you get a guy named Al, and it's his paw,
Okay.
right? So,
Alspaugh.
Alspaugh. So yeah, exactly.
Alspaugh.
Alspaugh. Yeah. So
Yeah,
it's not
there you go.
Alspaugh. And if you say Alspaugh or Alspaugh, I don't care. I've been called a lot worse, folks. But it is Alspaugh.
Not since breakfast. All right. Well, Brock, great show today. And again, I'll give that number one more time for our listeners out there. It's 573-332-7855. Once again, 573-332-7855. Brock, great show today, listeners. That does it for today's episode of the Retirement Playbook with Brock Alspaugh, or Alspaugh.
That went so